year, Ghana joins the rest of the world in commemorating the World Day Against Human Trafficking, also known as the Blue Day, to raise awareness on the dangers associated with human trafficking. In the year 2010, the United Nations General Assembly, during the adoption of the Global Plan of Action to combat human trafficking in persons, urged governments worldwide to take coordinated and consistent measures to combat human trafficking. This led to the designation of 30th July every year as a day set aside to remember the suffering of all victims, showing compassion for their plights and making policies and programs interventions to support the fight against human trafficking. The global theme for the commemoration of this year's Day Against Trafficking in Persons is under the theme, Reach Every Victim of Trafficking, Leave No One Behind. This theme calls to action, or for us to act not just with words, but with intentional and inclusive efforts to uncover, protect, and support every single individual affected by trafficking, no matter their background, gender, age, or migration status. Distinguished guests, in November 2000, the UN General Assembly adopted the UN Protocol to prevent, suppress, and punish trafficking in persons, especially women and children, also known as the Palermo Protocol. The international law that defines human trafficking using three significant elements known as the act, means, and purpose. In December 2005, Ghana enacted the Human Trafficking Act 2005, that is Act 694, and its amendment, as well as the passage of the Human Trafficking Prohibition Regulation 2015, that is LI 2219, which was approved and passed by Parliament to provide guidelines for the Human Trafficking Act of 2005. The ministry has also developed the Human Trafficking National Plan of Action, that is 2022 to 2026, which is a comprehensive document to support effective implementation of the HT Act of 2005. The plan of action covers all the thematic areas of prevention, protection, prosecution, and partnership. Ladies and gentlemen, this means the Human Trafficking Act of 2005 is 20 years old. And as Ghana prepares to join the rest of the world to commemorate the World Day Against Human Trafficking, to ensure no one is left behind, we are commemorating under the theme, the Human Trafficking Law at 20, the journey so far in Ghana. This meant to echo or re-echo the tireless work by our partners towards policy planning, institutional capacity building, law enforcement, as well as educational programs, which have contributed immensely towards the fight against human trafficking, whilst taking stock of the challenges, gaps, and future policy direction to ensure us to fight the menace. Leaving no one behind also means acknowledging the courage of survivors. Their stories of pain and resilience must inform our laws, our policies, and our programs. It means building systems that are trauma-informed, survivor-led, and rooted in integrity. Distinguished guests, in 2023 Trafficking in Persons report by the U.S. Department of State has seen Ghana remain on Tier 2 ranking due to significant improvements in our efforts in areas of prevention, protection, prosecution, and partnership. However, there is a lot more to be done in a decisive way to combat human trafficking. Victims are enslaved and their dignity and freedom taken away from them. Ghanaian women and men are recruited by unscrupulous and fraudulent agencies who entice them with offers of good-paying jobs in domestic service or the hospitality industry in the Middle East, where they are abused, raped, tortured, disgraced, and reduced to nothing. Some have mental health issues, and many have reported of being deceived, overworked, starved, molested, or forced into prostitution and sleeping with countless men. Others face the dangers of organ harvesting. Again, some use irregular means to migrate through the desert in an attempt to get to Europe and other Western countries. They travel under harsh conditions, and we see the videos of some dead and washed ashore by the Mediterranean Sea. Ladies and gentlemen, it is an unpalatable situation. Some are packed in vehicles and boats, overcrowded with no life jackets, and they risk dying. I was very interested in the presentation made by Professor Leander on the journey so far in relation to the law. One of his articles on human trafficking, Prof made mention of the fact that they have a renewed interest in human trafficking, which is influenced by incidents regarding migration flows, sexual exploitation, and is part of an organized crime affecting both developed and developing countries. Human trafficking now is the second largest trade after firearms trafficking and before drug trafficking. This is a serious thing, published by the same Prof. Prof, thank you for having interest in human trafficking. It is estimated to worth more than $30 billion per year. Wow. And it is projected that traffickers earn millions of dollars from the sale and exploitation of victims. Distinguished guests present here, gender is very crucial in counter-trafficking activities, although the real life scale of trafficking is unknown due to the difficulty in getting through to these hard-to-reach groups. Because they wear masks, and it's very difficult to get them. Those we don't expect to be involved in such trade are actually the people involved in the trade. We have also seen the data and the figures presented to us by Professor, including our successes, challenges, and progress made so far. The figures show that Ghanaians are vulnerable to trafficking, whether as origin, transit, or destination country, and in some cases, a combination of all three. Poverty and desire for greener pastures have been mentioned as some of the root causes of trafficking, and young women and men see migration as the only way of survival. Ladies and gentlemen, there have been a lot of successes, including the operationalization of adults and children's shelters, as well as the transit shelters, as the victims serve as the key witnesses during prosecution. However, we need to have adult male shelters because our men are equally involved, and we don't want to be biased just looking at only women. So we're going to work towards that, and we assure you that we'll get the shelter in place. Before I take my seat, this is on behalf of the Honorable Minister for Gender, Children, and Social Protection. Let me say human trafficking is real, report and defend the vulnerable. Today, as we raise awareness, we must also raise our ambition. Let this be more than a commemoration. Let it be a recommendment. Let it be a recommendment to each one of us to strengthen international cooperation, to hold perpetrators accountable. Let us educate, legislate, and be active when taking decisions for the vulnerable. Let us strengthen our borders without criminalizing the victims. Let us work across government, civil society, and communities, as well as survivors, not in silos. Let us work together. Let's work in solidarity. Let us reset and reassess our efforts. Together, we can break the chains of trafficking. Together, we can build a world where no one is exploited, no one is invisible, and no one is left behind. On behalf of Honorable Agnes Na Momo Lati, thank you so much.